Super Senpai Podcast. Welcome to the Super Senpai Podcast. This is a bi-weekly, episodic tokusatsu-related podcast where we're talking about fights and tights. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant. And we're back together again. The two Hermanos looking to review some Lupinarnger versus Patranger, which is what we usually do.
Yep.
But before we get into that, Pat, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Just had a bit of fun this past week.
Where did you go to have a bit of fun? Did you go to like the mall or the beach or something? What did you pick?
Oh no, sir. I just came back from Anime Expo 2018.
Wow. So you braved the crowds, the throngs of people to go to AX. How was it, man?
Oh man, it was a blast. We only went to a couple panels, but it was cool seeing I feel like through this and through other things I've been following a lot more artists and connecting with people through the podcast or just sort of mutuals and stuff. And so getting to meet people and see them in real life. Nate Ming over at Crunchyroll, we went to karaoke. That was a blast. It was just total strangers freaking out for a little bit before he actually showed up, and then brought everybody that was waiting inside to sing our hearts out.
That's great.
Made a couple friends there. Got to see Lisa Wallen perform for a 30-minute set.
Oh, that's great.
That was cool. Yeah, I was laughing and ran into her a couple of times, but also got to grab lunch or just chit chat with Danny and Kay of the Anime Expo podcast.
Yeah,
and that was fun. It was cool. We just kind of found a corner to sit down and chit chat. So shout outs to all of them. Thanks for taking the time to come and hang out with us. And then, I have our little crossover picture, which I think Danny might have sent you.
Yeah, I saw that. It was great.
Oh yeah. Danny actually tweeted it out too.
Yeah,
so it was cool. But in terms of the actual contents of the show, aside from all the cool people that we saw, it was we got to see the JoJo premiere. That was exciting.
Right, for part 5. Yeah. It was good looking premiere.
Yeah, totally worth. Oh, but before that, we actually tried out doing some real attempt at cosplay this year.
Oh, who did you cosplay as?
Oh, so the first Friday, my wife and I did Shinosuke and Kiriko from Kamen Rider Drive.
Awesome.
So I finally put that the Drive driver that I got back in January to to good use. And that was cool. And then on Saturday, we did Momo and Tenya from Hero Academia in disguise. The disguises they put on.
That's great.
For the rescue arc. That was a lot of fun to do. We got a really great picture out of it, just sort of by chance.
Yeah, you sent that one to me. I really liked that one. That was good stuff.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I keep looking at it just because it's so cool. But what a stroke of luck. The girl that was dressed up as Himiko Toga is Ku Senpai on Twitter. I think at Ku Senpai. Yeah, she was totally down. She was totally game, and she did the menacing. I just said look menacing while we hide behind this thing, and she totally she did it. She pulled it off. It was great.
That's awesome.
We went to 2 panels, I think, and the rest of it was kind of just shopping and looking around. One was the JoJo panel, and so in our Drive cosplay, we were standing out in the sun for almost 2 hours. It was pretty bad, but thankfully we got in. It was very air conditioned. They handed out water bottles, and we got to just take in all the JoJo. They did trivia. The director came out, and then they did a cosplay contest thing where people just screaming. Now Mutual Taj 265. Sorry, I forgot your numbers, dude. But he rocked Kira, and he had his own Killer Queen on the stage. It
That's
was just,
awesome.
I don't know if you saw the picture of that, but it was really awesome.
No, I didn't see the picture. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Yeah, and like all of them were really good. Like, but I was screaming the most for him, and I'm so happy he won because it was cool. And then yeah, we did get to see like the first episode of JoJo Part 5, and it was like it was wild. Like I'm so ready for it to be October just to see the rest of this because.
Are you a big JoJo's head? Do you dig JoJo a lot, or are you into JoJo?
Oh yeah. I'm like I remember finding like the Duong scans back in like 2007.
Right.
And so I'm so happy for everything that like for it to have become as basically exploded to the point where it is now.
It's so crazy. I mean, for years, at least the only way I knew it was some of the OVAs, I guess, in the like middle 2000s, and the Dreamcast game for Stardust Crusaders. Like that's all I knew it by. And for a long time, I thought it was just a game until I saw those. Oh, there's OVAs, so I guess it must be some kind of anime or manga or something like that. And then to see it now, where it's practically a household name, it is pretty wild.
It is awesome. Yeah, like I remember like the very first thing I saw of it was probably that like stick figure flash. Like you know what I'm talking about? Where it was like I think
exactly
it's called like muda.swf, right? Mm-hmm. Okay,
yep.
good. Yeah. Yep. and like it was like who are these characters? Like they're not even the ones that are going to show up until
is a very particular strata of the internet, isn't it? Like there was a time when that was something I even sought out.
Oh yeah. Oh, those were some days, weren't they?
They certainly were. Well, good, man. That's awesome that you had such a good time. Was there any other big like standout moments or anything like that, or exciting stuff from AX?
I got to see. Well, I'll talk about it a little bit more, I guess, in the questions because I think somebody asked a direct question about that. But yeah, did get to see some Toku cosplay, and awesome. I think I got a few pictures of them. Not nearly enough. But that's perfect because we did end up, while we were in line for one of the panels, picking up tickets for Power Morphicon because we're like, I think it's like one of the last days to get them online. So we will be going down for at least one day of Power Morphicon.
That's awesome.
End of August? Like near the end of August?
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
With the Toku heads
I'll be there repping Super Senpai.
Yep, our people.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really great. Good that you're doing the con scene. You're a reporter in the field. I'm here with the running ticker tape below me and all the people in the newsroom typing on computers in the background.
Exactly.
Well, cool, great. I guess in the other news, I guess the other big event that's happened is that Ultraman RB has finally released. It's finally dropped. The first episode has come out this past weekend. This is the latest Ultraman series from Super Productions. They've been doing them pretty consistently for the past couple years. They've been 25 or 26 episode seasons, so don't expect anything different, even though I haven't really been tracking a lot of the pre-release stuff. Now, have you watched much of the other Ultraman series and things like that?
I still need to finish Jeed, and I still need to finish Orb.
Okay.
I have a lot to watch.
I'm obviously a bit more of the older head then, but yeah, the RB seems to be slightly different just because the top billing here is going to 2 Ultramen right out of the gate. Obviously, Ultraman has been crossing over and having multiple Ultramen in movies and in series stuff plenty. And Jeed last year pretty much had 2 Ultras the whole time. When Zero was introduced a little ways in, but fundamentally it was a 2 Ultra show. But this has the 2 Ultras have top billing. They're right there in the title cards, so that'll be interesting. The wrinkle to this is
plus Orb, right? Orb seems like some kind of background or mentor character, like just from promo art that I've seen. I don't know.
Yeah, he seems to. I don't know. See, I try not to spoil.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's fine. I mean, I know like Ultra, just like everything else, Ultra's big on pulling. I think Ultra's probably of the big 3, at least what I consider to be the big 3. It's probably has the most continuity really between seasons. So like that's kind of more expected than it is with say Super Sentai or Kamen Rider, where it mostly seems to be for team up episodes or team up movies, right?
Yeah. More or less.
The crossover stuff, but the Ultra tends to pull a little bit more on its lore. Not always. It's still Tokusatsu. It still assumes it's everybody's first season. But the big thing is that for the past couple of years, pretty consistently, Crunchyroll has been getting and simul-publishing the releases as soon as it comes out. with the simulsubs, but we have not seen that yet. So currently, even though Super Senpai Productions put up an episode on YouTube, the raws, right, in the full Japanese audio, we don't have any subtitles for it, no official ones, and Crunchyroll has not said anything about an official release. Now, last year, I recall we had a similar sort of time situation with Jeed, in that it was right up to the wire. We had no real official word from Crunchy, and then, boom, it came out. But even then, I think it was still the day of airing or the day after. It was within a reasonable time frame. It's been a couple days at this point, and it's still not up on Crunchyroll. So, make of that what you will, but it appears that it is not on Crunchyroll as of right now. I mean, I'm sure, my guess is if by the time episode 2 rolls out, we don't see it, that's probably the message loud and clear. But I do know that some Toku Twitter heads have gotten together and have put together a fan sub of it, and that's up, and they're going to leave it up until the next episode drops. So I know that's available if people are interested in that and want to go it that way. Of course, I would personally prefer to have a legal option, and have been pretty consistently going to Crunchyroll to watch my Ultraman, or to Shout Factory when I watched Ultra 7. So it'd be really great if we could get an official release, but it doesn't look great right now. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, time will tell. We still have some room before it actually. Yeah.
We'll just hope there was some minor delay and that we'll get it soon, but it would definitely be a bit of a bummer since it seems like Toku's been on the upswing here lately. Oh, and I guess we can talk a little bit about Ultraman anime and Gridman anime, since I know we saw there was a short trailer they put out at AX. Now, did you get to see the Gridman trailer at AX?
I did not. I think we used up a lot of our energy going to the JoJo panel. So after that, we're like, I think we're done with most panels for the rest of this trip.
No doubt.
And I imagine it probably wouldn't have been too hard to get in because it was like near the end of the day, but still, like, we were pretty beat at that point.
Yeah, no doubt, and that heat and everything, I can imagine. The Gridman anime, an adaptation of the old Super show Gridman by Studio Trigger, is the trailer's up. I think it looks really good. A lot of people were adding me on Twitter mentioning that it was looking really good. I think some of them had seen either a preview episode or more preview material or something like that, and were pretty positive on it. And then we know that the Ultraman anime is dropping in spring of 2019 now. And it's going to Netflix. The big thing there is that this is an adaptation of the Ultraman manga that's been running the past. I don't want to. It's been at least a year. I don't know how long it's been running though. I picked it up before we moved, so I think it was actually been running since at least like 2015, 2016. So a good long time then.
Yeah, it's been running for a little while. It was, and that was the English release, so that means it was probably running before that.
Before even that. Okay, yeah. So then I'm way off base with that. So yeah, no, this is an adaptation of that material, and I've still yet to read it, but a lot of people that I trust say it's really good. And you say you've read some of it. What's your take on that material?
I like it because, and this is a perfect time to reveal my most shameful secret. I love on the ground fights, and so basically an Ultraman acting as Kamen Rider is totally my jam. I just didn't keep up with it, but everything that I saw I was super into because it's like a dude with Ultraman powers at normal human size. Like, come on. Like, that's so... right. That's so right up my alley.
Yeah, it's very much... Because he doesn't grow large, it's more in the Kamen Rider vein, that's for sure.
And it's more armored looking, too, so that's sort of Metal Heroes...
that's true.
Heisei Rider for me, so that's... Lots of pluses here.
Yeah, for being lore-wise related to the original Ultraman, he certainly looks much more like a Heisei Rider. I think that's a good way to put it. But... Okay, so that's all we had on the news. So what are we going to be watching tonight?
So we're watching episodes 20 through 22 of Lupinarnger versus Patranger, a moment that you and I have very much been waiting for, I believe, will be occurring. So I'm excited to just finally see it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm ready. All
right, let's do this thing.
この番組は 楽しい時を作るグループ PRT とザ・コミックフィンドとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
And we're back. Oh man. We got him. We got the new one.
Yep, we got our seventh ranger. Our new ranger has shown up. Pretty much all three of these episodes focused on his introduction and powers and things like that. Pat, do you want to do a quick run through on what we saw in 2021 and 22?
Yeah. So in these episodes we were introduced to the new ranger, which is we thought it was going to be two, but it turns out it's just one dude that can switch between silver and gold. So that's Lupin X or Patranger X, and he can switch between cop and thief forms. Really, I feel like I don't know necessarily that there's a purpose to switching besides it looks cool, or just he wants to just to mess around, show solidarity, or juke them for whatever reason.
Right.
But it turns out he's the dude that's been sort of modifying the weapons and then or turning them into weapons that they could use, that the Patrangers can use. Somehow he has enough clout to say that he's working for another department or another division of the GSPO, and everybody, all the Patrangers just kind of accept it. But at the same time, he knows everything about the Lupin collection and Kogure and Good Striker directly. He uses trains as his vehicle to switch, and he just kind of switches between whichever one he wants at any time, which is pretty fun to watch. And his Lupin form has like a metro line kind of train, and it's more locomotive or like steam engine for his
correct. Yep.
Patranger train. Yeah. So we saw like elemental powers. He's able to switch anytime he wants, and then in episode 22 we were introduced to his mecha, which is, I think it was like Emperor X, which has like a top and bottom half form that he kind of just does a cartwheel and switches forms to either long range or short range. And we were introduced to a couple of things like a double. I think they said like double status.
Yeah, double status. Yeah,
that's a gangler with two safes on them, and then he classified or identified Gauche's ability as a status gold because she has a safe that's gold instead of the normal silver.
Correct. Yeah.
But we were introduced to the character, and he seems like a fun guy. We don't really know what his angle is because it seems like he's able to either trick or manipulate the others, but he hasn't necessarily seemed like malicious yet. So it was mostly just introduction and sort of seeing what kind of a character, what kind of a person he is, which we're still honestly not that sure about yet.
Right, yeah, but kind of introducing him and mostly bouncing him back and forth between the Patrangers and the Lupinarngers, just to kind of see not only obviously underscoring his personality has sort of a dual nature in a sense, as well as his power set having two forms quite literally, but he's a little bit playful, a little bit serious. He's suddenly showing up, and yet he's also deeply tied to Kogure and Good Striker and the Versus Changers in some ways. So he's past and present. He works with both teams. He doesn't quite tell either of them everything. He's running schemes between various things. He knows more than he lets on. So he's got this kind of double agent feel in addition to having two power sets, which is a fun dynamic, given that the running theme so far in the show has been the Lupinarngers and Patrangers ostensibly having the same goal, being on opposite sides and sort of the cat and mouse game between them. Now we have someone who willfully jumps back and forth between the two and has that extra layer. I think I guess it was episode, was it 20, either 21 or 22, Umika, I think it was 22, Umika quite literally says, oh, that's right, we as Rangers, the Lupinarngers, know about Lupin X, but we as just the people who run the restaurant, the Cafe Juror, like, we aren't supposed to know, even though Noelle knows that we know. So there's like, she's like, this is a headache, because they're all leading double lives, and he's leading double life, so it's all kind of wrapped up in that, which is fun. It adds
intrigue,
extra layer. Yeah, it adds layers of intrigue and more confusion to the personal, the non-powered side. what do you think about his design and like his power set, and like what do you enjoy it? Do you not like it? Because he's probably the most different so far, because we really only have 2 suits up to this point. How do you feel about his design?
I think I'm leaning towards the Lupin X design of it. I think I'm just a bigger fan of silver looking things. But that being said, the gold form is still really cool. And I will say that while I like that it's one person switching between the two, I was really expecting to see 2 different people show up. And then, like, I don't know if it was going to be... my expectation was something weird, like, okay, the Lupin Silver will show up, and it's actually going to help out the Patrangers, but then the Patranger Gold is going to show up, and that one's going to help out the Lupin Rangers. But this is still really interesting, and I still like what we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. So, well, overall, it's a plus. I'm happy to have this and sort of mix things up at this stage. I will say that I would not turn down yet another one.
Sure, yeah, I agree on all points. I think he's a good addition. Like we were talking about it when we were actually watching the episodes, that this happens a little bit later. You know, for those of you playing the home game, a lot of times Toku introduces a new character / toy somewhere around 16, 17, 18, just kind of as a rule, about somewhere around a third of the way through the show. So happening around episode 20 is a little bit later, but Pat, like you pointed out, they already started with a team of 6, and they were 2 different teams to juggle. So they could take they probably needed a few more episodes just to kind of really get us familiar with the core team and their dynamics internally and externally and all that kind of stuff, in addition to having some fun. I think I have to agree with you. I mean, I think all gold it's a very gaudy look. And it's a very gauche, if you will. So I prefer the silver with the gold trim. That being said, I do like that his uniform change is not just a color swap. It's not just a palette swap. Like, he has 2 distinct suits. The helmet is largely the same, and he still has like shoulder pauldrons and a collar, but with the silver form, it's more of almost like a breastplate or a cuirass, and it's like molded with the broader shoulders, and the affixed his collar is almost more like raised shoulder pauldrons, similar in style to maybe if you've seen like Record of Lodoss War, like Parn and Ashram, like the way they have that kind of like the taller shoulder guards there for the neck. And then in the police form, in the Patranger form, he's got more of a full dress coat that actually has kind of more of a tail below the belt. So I do like that he has, and his shoulder guards are a little more form-fitting. His collar is more cloth-like. So I like that he's very clearly the same character because he has the giant X over his face, but he does have 2 distinct suits. He's not just changing color, which is nice. I think it's just enough. I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of trains. I'm generally a person that feels like most people like trains, like on some level. There's just something about the clickety-clack and the wheels and the tracks. Like, there's something about that that's just very fascinating.
Yeah.
I enjoy the train aesthetic. I've enjoyed it in every prior Sentai that I've seen it in, or any other show. I love it here. And then he's got 2 trains tied together, and then, like you pointed out, it's the metro and the locomotive. Like, I eat that up. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I keep having to bring up having gone to Japan, but being able to get everywhere by train in a way that actually makes sense. It's like, why couldn't the steam engine? Why couldn't train tracks ruled America instead? Sometimes, like, that's my feeling a lot of the time when I'm driving to work. Like, I wish I could take the train everywhere.
Yeah, right.
So letting them be useful and putting them into action this way is it's always a treat.
Yeah, and the fact that it's kind of a battle train, right? He's got like guns on and stuff like that, so he can fight. I think the visual gimmick of him having to, like, when he changes between the bullet train or the locomotive, having to like go down into the sort of the inner workings of it and then slide to the other end of the train, and we get that great little X-ray shot of him doing so and flipping and changing colors. That's a really fun visual gimmick. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes me think of, sort of more, it's almost more of a 70s super robot throwback. Your sort of Go Lion or Voltron or various, or like Mazinger, having sort of like a vehicle that takes you somewhere to get in your vehicle kind of thing. Like that I love that trope. So having that in a sort of miniature form is really neat, I think.
Yeah, because we don't really see it with the Lupinarangers or the Patrangers individually. They kind of like the thing forms and they all kind of pop up at once. This you get to see the guts of the machine for even an instant, and that's such a nice touch that like really sells the character. Also, that it's one character piloting this big machine, right? I mean, that's always cool.
Yeah, like you're saying with the others, they do technically drive to their robots or fly to their robots, but because they're external, right? They just sort of attach onto the sides, then pop up in. Like you're saying, it technically is happening for them too, but it's not enough. Like he's literally having to travel within his own robot, and that I think that's distinct enough. How do you feel about was it Emperor X / is that his robot's name?
I think that's
Emperor
right. Emperor
X.
X for sure. I couldn't remember if they had the subtitle or not.
But how do you feel about his giant transforming robot?
I think I'm a bigger fan of the blade mode. It almost felt like there were too many guns on the cop on the Patranger mode. Like I think we were just like you got them on your knees, you got your head, shoulders, knees, and toes with the guns here. But I mean, we've only seen it briefly. I think the funniest thing to me is that it does a cartwheel to change forms. Like that's so that's so wonderfully silly. I enjoy it so much. Like now I'm gonna be gun mode. Like you just
it's a very. I think the cartwheel is what sells that, and I love the fact that. I mean, I guess with trains, I mean they are. I mean, quite literally, they're linear vehicles, right? They drive on lines all day. But the fact that the trains crisscross and interlock and make an X,
oh yeah,
I think it's just different enough and interesting enough, because typically with trains, it's just not what you expect for them to intersect like that. So that sort of intersection motif, of course he's Lupin X, so it has to be an X. But I think that because it's with trains specifically, and I'm not used to seeing that with trains, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's on purpose. He's making his trains crash into each other to form this. Like it's so. It's wonderful. Yeah.
And bonus points for the like streaming sparks that are like flying off his arms in slasher mode.
Yeah. To indicate movement and power. Just always have the sparks going. Just
it makes them go faster, obviously.
Oh man.
So I think at least from our perspective, Lupin X is a big hit and a great addition to the show. How do we feel about some of the other stuff that went on in these episodes? Like with some of the other, do we feel like the other characters got enough impact, or like their side stories were used well and that sort of thing?
I think for the introduction of having the maybe both Reds making first contact at the same time, and that really dramatic flourish of phone stealing, I thought that was a cool way to have them all sort of meet for the first time. I will say that I feel like we didn't get enough Pink. Tsukasa just didn't like. Maybe we'll get some more soon, but it felt like she kind of... Everybody got sidelined for X, which makes sense. But less Pink is usually not a good thing for me, because she's great. And like the brief moments we got of her, like... what do you call those? Like kind of like vertical leg grabs. Like those are still some of my favorite stunts.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably that really great standout moment for her. And I think Umika got a great little moment in that scene too, when she and Tuma were fighting. There's a part where on that raised platform she gets to kind of like post up and fire a close range shot at a Polderman. I just remember that being a really good moment.
Yeah.
I gotta say, hats off to the Kaijin and Kaiju designs here. I feel like all three. We had the goldfish bowl guy for the last one. We had the toothbrush monster in the middle. And then I'm trying to recall what the first one was.
It was Sun Wukong. Just straight up Sun Wukong.
Yeah, it was Sun Wukong, but Sun Wukong that had monkeys, like monkey mouths for eyes and monkey mouths for ears, and was just like horrifying.
Yeah.
So it was like...
it is see all evil, speak all evil, hear all evil.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think I want to say, I'm so sure that was part of the design philosophy there.
No doubt. But I think all three of the designs were really, really fun, really interesting, quirky and goofy, but still just like unnerving. Like all of them, they were all three very clearly Sentai villains. And in fact, to me, the goldfish one particularly felt
Ugh,
just the way he just felt like a throwback monster. He looked like something that had been put together, in the 70s or the 80s, and the way he trapped people in that fishbowl that just had like the layer of pink dry ice and smoke, that was just like another realm, quote unquote. Like that just felt very throwback and classic in a way. So all three of them felt sort of like unique, very Sentai, just kind of quirky rather than scary. And yet, were still fun and interesting monsters that had different power sets and things like that. So yeah. I was really pleased with all three of them.
I'm a fan of the toothbrush monster. Adding cavities to things to create mayhem. Like, really? Like, oh, I guess we're doing the PSAs here. Make sure you brush your teeth. But I feel like it was a mixed message because this is like it's a monster toothbrush. I don't know. Oh, it was great. So I'm adding cavities to this to destroy the dam.
Yeah, and he was throwing out his cavity rights or whatever, his cavity rights. That was good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
but no, I was very positive on all three of these episodes. I mean, I think I don't see I don't see as much chatter on Toku Twitter about Lupinarnger versus Patranger as I do about, say, Kamen Rider Build, but I know we've been fans of the show pretty much from the get-go, and we continue to be. I think these are some of the strongest episodes we've had, personally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm interested in seeing where the heck they're going to go with this Noel guy, because I don't know what he wants. I can't tell. It seems like he cares about him. It seems like he actually wants things to succeed or work out for humanity, as it were, but there's something else there that we're going to see more of soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I feel like with the situation where he was trying to get Sakuya and Umika together, the sort of unintended consequences, maybe they're going to pull that theme back in because he was clearly involved in the production of some elements of the Versus Changers, so maybe we're going to see that too. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we want to move on to the community section now?
Yes. So first things first is a shout out to our patrons on Patreon. 120 and Joe. You guys are helping make this. You guys are helping us make the show. Like, yes, we really appreciate the support. It's so unexpected.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for helping. Obviously, we've been doing this just because, but it helps us pay for shirts to give to people. It helps us just. It helps us do more things for the show. So thank you guys so much for quite literally directly supporting the show. And I mean, obviously, it's a big deal for us. So thank you. Besides thanking our patrons, 120 and Jill, thank you for that. We're also going to go into Twitter questions now. First up, from Seaweed Ambassador, they asked us, you have to create a Sentai team made up of kaiju. Who do you pick and why?
Ooh, oh boy. Just going, these were all just kind of, there's so many to choose from. I just went with my gut on this.
Okay.
I needed a mix of just weird, heroic, and just terrifying. Or not terrifying, but very, very powerful. So I went with just a three kaiju team here. And I have Gamera, Baltan, and Jet Jaguar.
Okay.
Jet Jaguar kind of freaks me out. Like, just as a sort of offbeat Ultraman type. Like, I don't know enough about these, unfortunately. But having seen some of Gamera, that's a heroic turtle. That is our blessed heroic turtle. And then Baltan to be one of the few to actually defeat Ultraman soundly. Like, that was, from what I remember, that was a pretty, like, I don't know which series that was. But for my understanding is that a Baltan, if not the Baltan, had really done Ultraman in at some point.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I'm going to try to keep mine non-heroic, if you will, and try to stick with just the, well, maybe not non-heroic, but more bestial, more of the monstery types. So I guess for our hot-blooded team lead, our red, if you will, that's going to be, that's probably the toughest pick, I guess. Who would be our team lead? That's the question. I'm gonna have a harder time with red than any other color, because red has to be sort of headstrong and out to make a name for themselves, so to speak. They've got something to prove. Why don't we go with, I'm gonna go weird, I'm gonna go with Manila, right? One of Godzilla's smaller versions. That way he has some legacy to live up to. I think Gamera is your. I'm just sort of spitballing here. Gamera's going to be Black Ranger. He's going to be sort of like in Zyuranger. The Black Ranger was kind of more wise and knowledgeable. So Gamera has been through a lot. He's been through quite a few scraps. I think we'll do. Blue is usually like our skilled secondary, right? I'm going to go with Gamora on that one from the Ultraman series. I like Gamora is like one of the first monsters to ever defeat Ultraman full stop. It was like the first two-parter, I think. So he's quite skilled and quite deadly. We need a Yellow Ranger. I'm going to go with Mothra for the Yellow Ranger. Yellow tends to be very courageous and powerful. Mothra she has her own franchise of films, which is sort of unique, and she's quite potent. So I'm going to go with Mothra, and she has she's got like the Mothra twins and stuff like that. She's got her own kind of the dual nature there. So we've got red, black, yellow. Let's go, and we did blue. So let's go with, for a 5th Ranger, let's do, I guess there usually is a pink Ranger. For pink, I'm going to go with Biollante. Biollante being one of Godzilla's villains in Godzilla vs. Biollante. Just because Biollante does have the spirit of the Doctor's daughter in it, I guess. And Biollante is just like a really cool monster design that I'm a really big fan of. And for our 6th Ranger, it will be the king himself, Godzilla, who shows up a few episodes in and is just cooler and more powerful than everyone else just because the king is always more powerful. I'll probably, if I had to get particular, I'd probably make him the GMK version, just because I like him being about 60 meters, so that he's about the same size as Gamera, because that's really important to me, and I don't care if it's important to anyone else, but that's really important to me. And that's the Heisei era, or the Millennium era, rather, of Heisei, which is just sort of like kind of an iconic look for him. So that's my team. Very specific.
Yeah.
With my reasons.
I had to look these up, but I feel like you didn't. Like, this is just out of your archives here.
Oh, I guess I could do another 7th Ranger. It doesn't really matter what color. We'll call him Silver. Dinosaur Tank from Ultra 7, who is just one of the most ridiculous kaiju ever designed. Dinosaur Tank is just a dinosaur with tank treads. He has no explanation. They has no explanation, no justification. Pretty much just rolls onto the scene and starts shooting fireballs at everybody.
Dinosaur Tank kidding. Oh my goodness.
A hero in these dark times, quite truly. So, yeah. We'll say Dinosaur Tank is the Titanium Ranger of this team, created on the American adaptation that just has no lead-in, just shows up and is a dinosaur tank. So
wonderful. That's fantastic.
Okay. So from our buddy Princess Firebird, who was on, for those of you who've been listening for a while, she was on one of our earlier episodes, one of our very first guests. She asks, what's one piece of merch that's one piece, lowercase o, lowercase p, so a single piece of merch, not actually one piece of the property. So what's one piece of merch Pat saw at AX that he really wanted but couldn't walk away with? And she clarified, we all have the dream piece that we would love to enshrine but couldn't afford. So, Pat, what was it, buddy?
Oh,
what
boy.
Was the one that got away?
I can't just... I had to think about it. I'm gonna do 3 because I'm scum and I had to make some tough choices here. The first one was the Build SH Figure Arts because it's not out yet and I was just looking at it for a very long time in its display case, not planning to commit any crimes, just looking at it. But it's not it's not even out until like the 18th, and I think maybe you could have pre-ordered it, but I did not do that. Next one is actually a 2-parter because I made it into, I want to say, the Bluefin booth. And I could have done this. Thinking about it, I could have, and I should have done this because I saw them later and I felt really, really dumb. But they had Jetman figures that were not. It was 30 for Black Condor, and oh man, I'm forgetting Red's name right now. I'm sorry, Daisy, but
she's disowned us now.
Is it Red Hawk? I feel bad. Hang on.
Probably. It's Red.
It's not Red Hawk. Jetman Red.
Red Eagle, maybe?
Red Hawk. Oh, good. I got it right. Great. So it was Black Condor for 30 and Red Hawk for 40. And I walked out of there and saw Black Condor for 80 somewhere else.
Oh, geez.
So there's an exact number to how much regret I'm feeling about that one.
You can put a price tag on the regret.
Yeah. But an easy peasy one to think that I would never actually make this purchase. Like, I would have to be like insanely rich and probably afford like a bunch of other stupid things at the same time. But they had this beautiful JoJo figure. Like, it was basically a statue. It's a small statue. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at it, and I was like, okay, how much is this thing really? And it was like $500. And I was like, I'm never, ever in my life gonna spend that much money on a figure, I think. Like, I don't remember the exact brand, but it was like, this is beautiful Jotaro and Star Platinum just looking amazing. I didn't see as much Rider stuff, I feel like, outside of that, but I mean, it is a little bit more anime focused, so yeah, that's where I ended up.
Right. Okay, well, I mean, one day when we're independently wealthy from our millions, our podcast millions, pick it up. Mm-hmm. So from our good buddy Behalite Bebop, he asked, best Toku related cosplay at AX.
That's right. It's another AX one.
All on you, bud.
I saw an Aka-Ninja I got a picture with. I can post that up when the episode goes out. And a homemade Kamen Rider build that like looked just great. Like, wow. You can tell this dude put a lot of work into it. And I can't promote myself in this, I wouldn't do it. I said this earlier, but I was going around as a pre-henshin Kamen Rider drive, and my wife was dressed up as Kiriko. So, you know, I'll sneak that one in there. But I think the build was really, really good, and the Aka-Ninja from Ninja was really, really good too. But yeah, we have pictures of that up, so I'll attach that when the episode goes out.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great for people to be able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. So I think that's all for Twitter questions as well. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This was a super long episode, even.
Yeah.
Feels like longer than usual, but maybe not. Maybe it just seems that way. But I feel like we got to see some really exciting episodes and talk about some big stuff.
Yeah. And then hopefully we'll actually get to do the special that we've been planning soon.
Yes.
It's scheduled for soon. It's just, scheduling's tough, you know?
Yeah, we have one special guest lined up that we're very excited to have on.
Yes.
And we possibly have more, but it's a little bit shakier. We don't know yet, so I don't even want to say that we do. We definitely do have more, but we have some things in the works. Hopefully, you guys can enjoy even more than our usual just episode reviews, but have some really exciting and varied guests on here. Even though all of our guests have been exciting, and it's been great to have Buds on here, we've got more planned for you.
Oh yeah, grand schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Phew. Well, all right, man. This is a good one.
Yeah, it was. Ready to take us home?
Yes, sir. Thanks for tuning in to the Super Senpai Podcast. We'll notice you again next time.
Super Senpai Podcast.